Well, the market is still very mixed, and I think it's reflecting a trend that we started to see coming into December that we're going to continue to see when we go into 2021. And that is this rotation out of some of the tech. NASDAQ is up, but not necessarily leading, whereas the Russell 2000, the small caps, this month in December is up almost 10% after being up 19% in November. So that's just mind-blowing numbers. So when we talk about profit taking, I think you'll see some evening up going into the end of the year. I know personally, we have recommended to our clients maybe to tighten up the stops on the stuff that isn't really in the money. Why go out with losers at the end of 2020? We've invested in that are deep in the money. We actually want to stay in. And so we've actually widened those stops. And I think that's probably going to be what a lot of the other people are going to do. As far as the virus, this mutation, yeah, I mean, it's scary. And yet at the same time, what does the media love to do? They love to scare you. There's been absolutely, right? There's been absolutely no evidence at this point that the vaccine that is being administered will not also help this mutation of the virus. So we'll see what happens with that too. But the market is still very, very strong. And the fact that it's leveling off here in volume and in price to some degree is a good thing, I think, going into 2021. I mean, first of all, that's an assumption that there will be a rise in tax based on a Biden administration, even though he has expressed that. And capital gains tax, of course, would be affected. He can't make a unilateral decision, remember. And so in January, we still don't know what the Senate is going to be. In January, you'll have the final vote in terms of what happens with the Senate, and it's close. You should obviously plan for paying taxes. I mean, that is our responsibility as Americans to pay taxes. And if you're making a lot of money, you should actually feel good about paying your taxes. Well, gold actually has lost a lot of favor since, I mean, let's step back. Gold is still up on the year tremendously. And so it's not like it's been a terrible year for gold. It's just been a terrible quarter for gold. And compared to the market, it is well underperforming. And it's interesting. There's a few factors for that. One is Bitcoin. Bitcoin has sort of become the new darling for investors, and people are looking at it as a hedge against inflation, which I can see there's some validity to that. And gold really will react more to geopolitical situations, and right now things are calm. That could change. So right now, gold, there's an inflationary conversation happening, but it hasn't realized yet. And part of it is, the first part of your question relates to oil, which looked like it was going to explode, and now it's backed off with this new virus scare. So one of the things that I've been looking at, even with oil having retreated a bit in price over the last week, is that the actual phase is going into a bullish phase. And that'll be the first time it's done so in almost 3 years. So what is that telling you? It could be nothing. But it also could mean that if it holds around this $50 a barrel mark, give it a little bit of room, maybe wiggle room, $45 a barrel to $50 a barrel, that's going to be your support. There could be the surprise. We don't know exactly what that surprise could be. And that's what makes charting so exciting for me, is because very often you see it in the charts before you hear it on the news. If oil goes up, I think gold will follow, because that will be sort of the last metric for inflation, and Bitcoin's not going to help with that. The mainstream is still going to be looking at gold as a safety play for inflation, and silver's been outperforming gold, which is kind of one of those signals that that could be coming. Well, there are a couple of ETFs. One is, we've talked about it. It's actually a Coinbase. It's called GBTC. However, that's also up as much as the Bitcoin market is up. And there's another one called BITH, and that also has been flying. So you might start to see more instruments that you can trade without actually buying straight up Bitcoin. But, you know, you're asking a trader about risk. You're always going to get the answer of, be careful if you're buying up here. We just had a huge move from clearing 19,000 up to 24,000. I mean, this thing goes up $5,000 like nothing, which means it can go down $5,000 just as easily. So I would say if you wanted to get in, it seems like when it gets to a new plateau, you get an immediate move. So if it breaks over 24,000, maybe you'll get to 30,000. But I would trade this like anything. I would have a risk in mind of when I'm wrong, and I would have a profit target where I could take some money off the table and sort of put it in the bank, even though that's opposite of Bitcoin, isn't it? Bitcoin's about no bank, but using it as an expression. And so 19,000 to me right now is a good area of support to watch hold.